proprietors, leaders, school teachers, revision reopening marks the beginning of the reopening process for Lagos State public and private schools. It is essential that all school overseers, leaders, and personnel complete this course to ensure that schools can reopen safely. The effort that you make to comply with these requirements will build trust with your parents, improve your overall school operations, and support the Lagos State government to prepare for a full return to school. Most importantly, it will protect your students, your staff, and their families. The requirements detailed in this course adhere to recommendations from the NCDC and reflect both our unique context and insights from reopening around the world. These are, without question, challenging times. We will emerge stronger and wiser, and learning will never be the same. With care, Abiola Seriki Ayeni, Director General, Office of Education Quality Assurance, Lagos State Government. Ready to reopen requirements. After an extended closure, we are delighted to allow public and private schools to apply for a safe-to-learn reopening permit. This course outlines the reopening process and requirements. School leaders and proprietors must provide a forward-to-school course completion certificate when submitting their reopening application. Welcome. This course contains recommendations, guidelines, and instructions for revision reopening. The intent of this course is to ensure that your school is ready to reopen. All teachers, school leaders, staff members, and staff must complete the course. Achieving Ready to Reopen status will provide a degree of security to your school community and support re-enrollment. Course completion certificates will need to be uploaded to apply for Ready to Reopen status. Slide 1, the reopening process. Number 1, prepare the community. Ensure that all teachers, staff members, leaders, and overseers complete the online reopening course. Number 2, prepare your building. Develop operations and facilities plans. Essentially, 2 plans toward both SS3, revision reopening, if you're a secondary school, and whole school whenever the entire school returns. You need to be able to plan for both circumstances. These plans reflect the requirements in this course and allows for close monitoring of health and safety. Number 3, prepare for learning. Schedule learning across face-to-face and distance learning platforms. Ensure that learning can continue remotely in the event of a closure. Essentially, this would be 2 plans toward both SS3, if it's a secondary school, and the whole school for whenever the entire school returns. Number 4, plan your communications. Schools must have a valid phone number for a child's guardian and emergency contacts for both children and staff. In addition, develop a communications plan as detailed in this course. Number 5, upload all required documents via the application link and schedule an assessment visit. Reopening documents. Several documents are required for reopening. These plans center on health, safety, operations, learning, and communication. These components are vital to ensure safe learning communities for all. Utilization plans. Floor plans. A floor plan is a visual representation of the entire property. It should include classrooms, wash stations, closets, stairwells, doors, floor levels, windows, entrances or exits, amongst others. Usually, everything besides furniture is captured in a floor plan. Every space should be measured and identified. These measurements will be used in conjunction with social distancing parameters to determine the number of people allowed within a space at a time. A distinct floor plan is needed for each level or floor in your school. Transitional spaces, such as corridors, stairwells, or front gate areas, need to be measured. Protocols for these areas should be established based on space dimension, social distancing, and frequency of use. Floor plans are not only essential so everyone knows the physical layout of a school for day-to-day operations, but they are especially useful in the event of emergencies. These plans may be drawn out and uploaded as an image embedded into a PDF. Schedules. Schedules help you think through where staff and students should be at set times. These should include student cohort and class or subject lists with emergency information on all students. There should also be schedules for blended and distance learning. Monitoring. There needs to be a plan for tracking student and staff attendance. For staff, what is your plan to ensure that staff that are absent have a substitute in place both in school and out of school? You may want to consider a buddy system for sets of teachers to relieve each other when there is an absence. As a result of this, every teacher must have a substitute teacher folder in the event they are absent. Learning can continue. There must be an action plan for isolating suspected COVID-19 cases. Basic information on nearby medical and isolation facilities should be included. Sanitation and PPE. Evidence, such as receipts, pictures, distribution lists, etc., of adequate personal protective equipment must also be embedded into a single document. We recommend that each person own at least 3 cloth masks on rotation. If possible, children should come to school with an extra mask in case his or her mask becomes soiled. Running water, soap, and paper towels within wash stations must be adequate for the population of the school. There must be scheduled times for children to wash their hands frequently during the day. For cleaners, there must be detailed schedules that include the frequency of rounds and specific line items such as desks, doorknobs, sinks, floors, etc., to be cleaned and disinfected. The designated health and safety officer is to track and monitor compliance on a daily basis. Distance learning refers to learning that occurs away from the school. How will your school engage children partially or fully? We need your plans to indicate the mediums you intend to use. It could be an LMS, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, WhatsApp, Telegram, amongst several others. It really depends on what your teachers and students have access to. For some, distance learning may be in form of TV, radio, or even worksheets or assignments in an exercise book. The key to making distance learning work is finding a medium that your school can scale and sustain. That way, when children are away from school, they can easily put it in good use, and it is convenient and allows for timely feedback between teachers and students. Children have been away from school for some time, and it is imperative that we get baseline information on where they are. Your plans for assessment include the types of assignments and assessment you intend to use and the frequency. You also need to include plans for remediation and/or extra lesson tutorials. How will your school attempt to support children who have fallen behind? Data and communication. We need data on staff and children. This plan should include basic contact information, inclusive of emergency contact in a time of an emergency. Each school must have a systematic and timely way of communicating with staff and families to convey important and/or emergency information. Encourage your families to have an email address or phone number, even if it is that of a relative. Reopening process. To ensure that students and staff safety guidelines are understood and adhered to, the OEQA has developed a robust reopening process. Schools that provide operational, monitoring, academic, and communication plans that meet the requirements outlined in this course will be issued a Safe to Learn reopening permit. This permit assures parents that school can provide a safe learning environment in school and continuous learning outside of school. The process is outlined as follows. Number 1, ensure that all members of your senior management team complete the Forward to School course on www.lagoslearnstogether.com. Number 2, assign a COVID-19 site leader to serve as the OEQA liaison. Number 3, develop an operational plan that meets the requirements detailed in this course, which includes monitoring of health and safety as well as student academic performance. Number 4, develop an academic plan that ensures continuous learning throughout a blended return to school, and a distance learning plan should schools be required to close again. Academic plan examples are provided in this course. Number 5, develop a staffing plan to ensure teacher and staff safety. Number 6, develop a communications plan to ensure that parents and other stakeholders receive regular updates regarding the COVID-19 response in your school. Number 7, upload and submit required documents online. Number 8, schedule a reopening assessment. Number 9, provided reopening is approved, display your Safe to Learn banner with pride. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused health, safety, and educational crises all over the world. Reopening plans differ across the globe, but WHO has stipulated that specific guidelines are given concerning social distancing. These guidelines must be maintained to ensure the safety of students, staff, and families everywhere. These slides detail the Federal Ministry of Education's guidelines. These guidelines are supported by Lagos State's insights. Federal Ministry of Education guidance with OEQA input. Reopening around the world. COVID-19 is a public health and educational crisis. Reopening plans vary around the world. However, the WHO provides clear social distancing guidelines which must be maintained in order to ensure the safety of students and staff of their families. The following slides detail Nigeria's Federal Ministry of Education's guidance, supported by on-the-ground insights and examples from Lagos State Office of Education Quality Assurance. Federal Ministry of Education WHO/OEQA social distancing in the classroom. Based on WHO recommendations, students should maintain a distance of 1.5 to 2 meters at all times, including whilst in the classroom, in common areas, and on transportation. The following slides detail FMOE and OEQA recommendations to support social distancing during revision reopening. Please see an example of social distancing in a classroom in Ghana. Federal Ministry of Education guidance on outdoor learning. Identify and use outdoor learning spaces whenever possible. We, as the Office of Education Quality Assurance, will ask that you embed these spaces onto your floor plan. This can limit transmission and allows for safe distancing between learners and teachers. The use of shelter outdoors is necessary for the protection and safety of learners and teachers. In addition, safety in all weathers and security measures are required for each location. See the sample space model. Federal Ministry of Education guidance on staggered attendance. School gates can be crowded places. The Federal Ministry of Education recommends staggered arrival times. Learners may arrive and depart at different times to avoid overcrowding. Schools may reopen gradually, example, starting with a particular grade level. We at the Office of Education Quality Assurance also recommend alphabetically staggering learning communities within each class to allow families to be brought to school together if needed. See sample on the following slide. Federal Ministry of Education guidance. Alternate attendance. In addition to shortening the school day and staggering pick up and drop off, schools may develop a range of attendance models. Schools may alternate attendance days per week, with learners at the secondary level or equivalent and above having fewer in-person classes. Since these learners can better manage independent learning, example, junior secondary school learners attend on Tuesdays and Thursdays, while primary school learners attend classes on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Attention should be paid to keeping families together and keeping learning units small. The Federal Ministry of Education also suggests platooning in shifts. Classes may be divided into morning and afternoon shifts. However, classrooms must be thoroughly sanitized before being reused. Federal Ministry of Education guidance. Decreased interaction. Retake. Learners may remain in one location with teachers coming to them. Students should remain together for the day without mixing with other groups. This way, it is easy to track and isolate exposure in the event of a COVID-19 transmission. Before progressing, assess your readiness to reopen using the self-assessment safety checklist for the reopening of schools. This form is strictly for individual school use and will not be submitted. The purpose is so schools can quickly assess readiness and proffer solutions based on evidence. We know this is difficult. School leaders will naturally feel overwhelmed by this list. Throughout this course, we will share solutions drawn from reopening models around the world and adapted for our context. Remember, we are in this together. Why is an operational plan important? Because it's going to do exactly what it says it will to ensure that your school operates. How are children going to walk through the hallways? How are you going to come into school and leave school? How are you going to plan for sick teachers or students? These are all important in coming up with an operational plan. And like I said, no two are the same. As you go through this course, I want you to think through what your school specifically needs, what resources are available to you, and how you will maintain the opening of your school. Developing your ready to reopen operational plan. Your operational plan. No two operation plans will be exactly the same. To support you in planning for the safest possible reopening, we are providing operational guidelines aligned to the Federal Ministry of Education requirements and WHO recommendations. Set up a reopening committee with 2-point persons. Each school must have a COVID-19 manager. This person should be a member of the senior leadership team and will be the main point of contact for both the relevant MDAs and for parents regarding school health, safety, operations, and COVID-19 responses. In addition, each school must have a learning manager. This person should also be a member of the senior leadership team and will be the main contact person when it comes to ensure learning occurs both within and outside of schools. This person supports teachers with lesson plans, curriculum support, assessment, and remote learning protocols. These two people should be supported by a committee including several staff members, parents, and community members. Next slide. Determine safe student and staff capacity. Take measurements of each classroom and test desk arrangements to determine maximum student and staff capacity given social distancing of 1.5 to 2 meters. This will provide you with your maximum daily capacity. This capacity will drive your school schedule. Total school capacity and individual classroom capacity will need to be clearly indicated on both your operational and floor plans. Next slide. Develop a school-wide floor plan. Develop and submit a floor plan that shows each classroom, the maximum number of students per classroom given social distancing, the location of entrances, hallway travel directions, the location of your COVID-19 isolation room, the location of break rooms, or workspaces for staff. Develop a transportation plan. For the safety of the school community, students should try their best to arrive at school and return home while maintaining social distancing of 1.5 to 2 meters from non-family members. Schools that can provide busing may use staggered opening times to sanitize and reuse buses. See example in previous guidance section. When possible, students should ride to school with the same fellow travelers each day they attend to reduce transmission. Parents or guardians must report transportation plans for their children, and these must be included in the class or cohort lists. Develop a schedule. Complete 2 operational plans, one for the return of SS3 and one for a full distanced return. The plan can be developed using our template, or you may submit your own plan. The template in the Reopening Toolkit on the www.lagoslearnstogether.com website include examples of both SS3 and full distance reopen. The schedule must include full class lists along with parent or guardian and emergency mobile contact details, as well as a transportation arrangement for all students. Students in one class must arrive within the same time period and attend schools on the same days. Schedules must include time for a brief outdoor mask break for all students and staff, as well as time for lunch or snack within the classroom. See sample in guidance and one on the following slide. Develop cleaning and sanitization schedules. The following cleaning and sanitization schedules must be adhered to. Daily deep cleaning of all school facilities after school hours, hourly bathroom cleaning and cleaning of frequently touched surfaces, sanitization of classrooms between student cohorts. All students must carry hand sanitizer. In addition, there should be adequate hand wash stations with soap, running water, and paper towels for drying. A cleaning schedule must be included in the operational plan, as well as the names and contact details of all facilities/cleaning personnel. Schools are subject to random spot checks. Operational plan requirements. Complete 2 operational plans, one for the return of SSS3 and one for a full distance return. The plan can be developed using our template, or you may submit your own plan. Plan must include a floor plan. This includes number of classrooms, floor plan with square footage and maximum capacity of each classroom when accommodating distance of 1.5 to 2 meters, location of designated isolation room, location and nature of hand wash stations, soap and water or sanitizer in each classroom and at each entrance, required PPE estimate for staff and evidence of purchase, student, staff, and leadership contact details. Name and contact details of the reopening point person and learning manager and committee members. Classroom cohorts with parent or guardian names, phone numbers, and emergency contacts. List of student and staff with underlying health condition. This can also be anonymous. Transportation schedules if needed. Transportation arrangements, bus lists, class list and schedules, schedule for each classroom cohort, schedule for each staff member, schedule for mask breaks, pick up and drop off schedule. The following documents will be required as part of your reopening application. Floor plan documenting building capacity with 2-meter social distancing, hallway traffic directions, and the location of a designated isolation room. Timetable includes staggered drop-off and pickup times. Student class and cohort lists. Name, mobile, and email address of COVID-19 and learning management point persons. Names and email addresses of school leadership team. Sample COVID-19 social distancing schedules. Below are 3 sample schedules to ensure that students can maintain an appropriate distance. For the coming months, schools will look and feel dramatically different. It's important, however, that learning continues. To reopen, we ask that you submit a learning continuity plan that takes into account your resources, your student population, learning within school, and learning outside of school. How will you combine all of these factors to make sure that students continue to learn? Health and safety will need to be monitored on a daily basis. What systems will you have embedded into your school to make sure that students and staff are always safe? You need to be intentional about hygiene and cleanliness. How have you oriented your students and staff to do this? Learning continuity and academic plan. For the coming months, if not longer, schools will look and feel different than it has ever felt before. It's important, however, that learning continues using the resources available. To reopen, we are asking that you submit a learning continuity plan that takes into account your maximum capacity, the learning that must take place within a school facility, and the learning that can take place outside of the school facility. Developing an academic plan. Depending on capacity, schools will engage in revision reopening in a fully face-to-face or blended model. During revision reopening, only senior school 3 students will be allowed on campus. Schools are recommended to use this opportunity to develop a distance learning plan for all remaining students, which can become a blended learning model when additional grades are invited back to school. This module details academic plan requirements for distance and blended learning. Face-to-face learning. During the COVID-19 crisis, face-to-face time will be limited. As a result, it should be carefully managed to ensure the following is accomplished. Students are assessed and learning gaps are addressed. Students with special education needs are supported. Students complete practical or hands-on exercises such as science experiments. Students' well-being is assessed. Students are made aware of distance learning expectations as well as how and when to assess distance learning resources. Students are provided with printed materials if required. Distance learning modes. There are different ways in which we can ensure that distance learning occurs. This is not limited to the use of technology. Number 1, outdoor classes. You can hold classes outside within your school or community spaces. Number 2, TV and radio. There are many Lagos State government TV shows and radio shows dedicated to continuous learning. Number 3, print packs. Printed materials distributed to students when at school for distance learning. Number 4, daily learning playlists. WhatsApp, Telegram, or SMS daily learning activities. Number 5, learning management systems. There can be various ways in which schools can benefit from learning management systems. They can use their lesson plans to include video files, audio files, or anything else that will ensure learning. Federal Ministry of Education Creative Delivery Recommendations. Lessons may be delivered more holistically to consider various learning environments for in-person learning, indoor or outdoor, and various media for distance learning, printed materials, online, TV, and radio. Learners may have allotted learning time in each of these environments to reduce the burden placed on indoor facilities. Learning pods. Distance learning can be supported by learning pods. Learning pods are small groups of students organized into chat groups and/or outdoor learning communities. Pods provide a place for students to support one another and to receive help from mentors or teachers. Pods may be informal or be directly supported by the school. Social distancing and proper hygiene should be followed by learning pods. Assessment. While challenging, assessment is extremely important in distance and blended learning. Formative assessment should be conducted weekly so gaps in learning can be understood and addressed. Schools should consider more frequent internal assessments rather than heavily weighted end-of-term assessments. Assessments can be conducted when students are present on campus or can be conducted via Microsoft or Google Forms, completion of projects and/or essays submitted via a learning management system or messaging, free tools such as Mentimeter.com. Academic honesty can be supported through academic honesty awareness campaigns for students and parents, oral defense of randomly selected exam responses, studying performance data for irregularities, and the use of open book and project-based exams. Sample delivery plan. Senior school, ages 14 to 18 at home. Senior school students are at an ideal stage for distance learning. They are generally independent with some direction and support from their teachers or parents. Health and hygiene. Allow children to plan and cook meals with supervision. Help set exercise schedule or targets. Supervision and support. Child or school to set daily schedule. Indirect supervision may be required. Provision of a safe and quiet place to work. Hours of direct learning, 4 to 6 hours. Learning activities, reading, writing, radio and TV programs, playing board games and math games, practice websites, interest-based websites and courses such as coding or art, live lessons with their class up to 1 hour, if available, free university courses on Coursera, edX, Nigerian Open University, exam preparation. Oeqa to provide microsites of recommended activities and resources and learning packs. The school may provide recommended activities and pre-recorded videos, one-on-one check-ins, text or WhatsApp support, linked to TV or radio lessons, live sessions when possible, university guidance. Assessment. Informal, school-developed assessments to check for understanding and progress, possible skill or content tests sent to students or parents through forms or WhatsApp, past papers may be used for progress checks. Academic plan requirements. Complete plan template or submit your own plan. Plan must include learning plans for all grades and subjects, number of days of in-person learning per grade during revision reopening for SS3, and proposed for full distance reopening. Assessment plan for revision reopening and academic year 20/21. Scope and sequence of SSS3 for revision reopening for all grades for academic year 20 to 21. This must include distance learning modes to be used, full face-to-face and distance assessment schedules, units, unit learning objectives, face-to-face and distance learning activities described with full breakdown of Month 1 learning activities. Academic support for special needs students. Safety monitoring and reporting requirements. Health and safety monitoring. Health and safety will need to be supported and monitored daily to ensure that students and staff are as safe as possible. Staff and students should stay home if they are unwell or have had contact with anyone who is unwell. Health, safety, and academic continuity monitoring. Schools must adopt daily robust health and safety and academic monitoring policies to ensure continuity of learning and the safety of students and staff. This monitoring will help improve student well-being and learning long after the COVID-19 crisis. The OEQA may request health, safety, and learning continuity data at any time. Health, safety, and academic continuity monitoring. Data required. Schools are advised to implement digital data capture to the areas below. However, up-to-date handwritten records will be accepted. Impact metrics upon reopening for health and safety. Preventative, distribution of access to protective equipment, use of protective equipment, frequency of sanitation, reports of insufficient distancing. Diagnostic, temperatures recorded COVID-19 cases. Re-enrollment and attendance. Re-enrollment data, daily student, teacher, and staff attendance, including WhatsApp groups and learning pods. Academic performance, participation and assignment/assessment performance, use of distance learning platforms if applicable. Parents, students, staff well-being. Student and parent survey completion once per month. Staff survey completion bi-weekly if possible. Health, safety, and academic continuity monitoring plan requirements. Complete plan template or submit your own. Plan must include COVID-19 adjusted attendance policies, procedures for recording attendance, procedures for recording temperatures, procedures when students or staff members have COVID-19 symptoms at school, procedures when a student or staff members have been exposed to COVID-19 inside or outside of school, cleaning schedules, procedures for monitoring participation in distance learning, procedures for monitoring completion of student assignments.
School leadership will need to have clear and concise communication loops with their families and stakeholders. This communication needs to be regular and tailored to the individual needs of your families and stakeholders. Your parents should know when and how to expect communication. Your role is crucial. You need to make sure that parents are very clear on their role of students being safe in schools, and also that the community at large understand that safety in school is highly dependent on safety out of school.
Communication requirements. Communications. School leadership will need to be in regular and clear communication with parents and stakeholders to ensure the safest possible return to school as well as continuity of learning. Your parents should know when and how to expect communication. They should also be aware of their important role in supporting the well-being of their own children as well as others in the school community and their role in supporting their children's academic progress. Communications plan. Effective communication processes and efficient communication channels will be essential to ensuring re-enrollment, learning continuity, and student and staff safety. Schools need to have current mobile numbers and ideally email addresses for all parents and guardians. We recommend that schools use messaging, emails, and their website to keep parents and guardians informed of: number 1, school continuity of learning plans and distance learning options. 2, members of the school reopening plans. 3, COVID-19 prevention. 4, re-enrollment opportunities and requirements. 5, schedules. 6, drop off and pick up. 7, emergency procedures should a student or family member have symptoms of COVID-19 inside or outside of school. 8, proper hygiene and COVID-19 prevention at school. Communications plan requirements. Complete the plan template or submit your own. Plans must include strategy for ensuring that all parents and guardians provide up-to-date mobile numbers and emergency contact information. Schedule for communicating with parents and guardians. Means of communicating with parents and guardians, such as messaging, email, or website. Policy and procedures for contacting parents and guardians when students or staff have signs of COVID-19. Policy and procedures for contacting parents and guardians when students or staff have been exposed to COVID-19. Policy and procedures for driving re-enrollment. Policy and procedures to address face-to-face truancy. Policy and procedures to address distance learning truancy. Next steps. Congratulations on completing your course. Now, please complete the assessment, download your certificate, and send your certificate to your COVID-19 coordinator. All templates and resources can be found in this course file on www.lagoslearnstogether.com and additional information on www.oeqalagos.com. Thank you.
One more step and you are done. All you have to do is take your assessment on the learning management system, download your certificate, and print a copy for your COVID-19 officer.